It's C-Doc again.
Well, hey, Tuesday. Another Tuesday in the books. Almost, huh? 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Channel Zero is the place to be. You know who it is. I know who it is. I don't know. I guess I know who it is. I better know who it is. C-Doc again. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Really interesting guest tonight. Can't wait to... we got a lot to talk about, so it's going to be great. It's going to be good. But I don't do this alone. So, as you know, we got to do the roll call. First up, she got her start in classic rap radio, our lady from the heyday of K-Day, Jennifer Ojene.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Boy, Stewie P in the place to be is getting comfy, huh?
He is. He is. He's getting mad comfy.
Mad comfy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not spoiling that dog, are you?
This is, this is to keep him from plastering everybody's favorite dog, Peanut, into the floor.
Gotcha. It's a friendly rivalry.
Sure. I don't know how friendly it is. He wants to play.
Yeah.
Peanut is not on the same page.
Yeah, we get the same thing with Appy and Roxy here, so I get it. I get it.
He just,
Yep.
Poor Stewie did not realize that he was coming to stay at Shady Pines Retirement Home.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Yep.
Also joining us tonight, one of the creators of People's Distinctive Travels and one of the best accounts on Instagram. And if you're not following him, you're a sucker. Ladies and gentlemen, the Culture Clip King, Ultramag 7.
I love that new intro. You're a sucker if you don't follow me.
I'm just saying, man. Come on. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't say such things, but thank you. I appreciate that.
I will say such things for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's up, bro?
All right. I'm good, Doc. Jennifer.
What?
As I look at those Band-Aids on your arms, Stuart Percival.
Damn, Stewie.
Percival.
Yeah.
Damn, Stewie. Come on.
Yeah, he's eating me alive.
Jeez. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Look at this. I mean, forget the Band-Aids. Look at what's... yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Stewie. Calm down, Stewie. Calm down.
Yeah. Slow your roll, Stu.
That's what baby teeth and certain body parts will do to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And with that, and speaking of body parts, no. Also joining us tonight, coming from the Northwest Side, the man behind Hip Hop Gods, the president of Rap Station. Ladies and gentlemen, my son calls him Flatbread, but we call him Flatline.
Don't show us your body parts. Don't show us your body
parts.
That was really off the cuff. That one was really off the cuff. Yeah.
It was a little weird. Hey, did everybody see Flatbread? Did everybody see that Dr. Dre got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today?
Yep.
I did see that.
Dre Day for real, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Dre Day.
And then
real.
right behind that, somebody said, when he went into the hospital for his aneurysm, he had 3 strokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he had an aneurysm.
Yeah, I remember that. Yikes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, he should release.
What?
He should what?
He should release some music. I mean,
he won't.
Y'all still waiting on detox?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, y'all thought Wise was a beatbox.
Yep.
I mean,
Exactly.
I don't even need detox at this point. I just need something new.
Just as long as it's not the, what was that song he put out? I Need a Doctor.
Oh,
Yeah.
brutal. Brutal.
Oh boy.
Didn't he just get
Yeah.
finished doing something with somebody? Somewhere?
Yeah, what's her name from Floetry is supposed to have an album produced by him, but then it's been delayed. And
Yeah, Rakim's album was delayed. Busta Rhymes was delayed. They were all delayed.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Give him a
Exactly.
minute to recuperate, folks.
Sure. We will.
okay.
We will.
It's
It's
only
pretty
been
crazy.
10 years.
It is pretty crazy that the Stetsasonic record, which I thought was going the way of Detox, is actually coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On cassette.
Some of y'all waiting on detox.
On cassette. Yep. I got the tape configuration all set. I just got to get the artwork set. And then we're good.
Nice.
Healthcare for hip hop is important. You're right, because that's why I quit.
Great, Hype Style.
That's why I quit.
Yeah.
Princess Superstar didn't have a health plan,
Brother.
especially when she's putting water on the stage and I'm falling on my back.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, I don't know what else to say about that, but we're going to get into the show and bring our guest on. I was not going to do a segue with, water on the stage, but
Well, you could actually.
Yeah.
Hype style. Not hype style. Flatbread. Did you have a show?
Oh, I mean, that's not important. Let's bring the guest on.
Alrighty.
well, we'll get to the show. We'll get
Yeah,
to the
we
show
can do it
afterwards.
later. We can do it later.
Yeah.
That's A.
Yeah. Yes, we have a true Renaissance man on the show this evening. A guy who you may have seen his name, you may have not seen his name, but he's been involved with a lot of records that you probably know. So we're going to talk about that and much more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Djinji Brown.
Yeah.
How y'all doing tonight?
Doing
Good.
well.
Wonderful.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Again, thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me
Man,
on.
thank you. Yeah, again, thank you for being here. So
Yeah, when I was following Ultramag's page, you know how it is, like with advertisements, you see things and you see posts, social media, there's so much stuff going on.
yeah.
And then one day it hits you and you're like, oh shit, that's that shit. And specifically it was I think it was around February or around February. Yo, you did the American Graffiti clip with Wolfman Jack
Oh,
Ricky
yeah.
Dreyfuss in the radio station, and you had the Dilla American Graffiti track playing off the donut. So those who know see it right away. You got to be of a certain age to put the visual and the audio together seamlessly like that. You got to be of a certain, born in the 70s type of shit. I said, yo, it was brilliant. And then as I go down the rabbit hole, I'm like, oh yeah, all my people follow this dude. I've been following this dude. And I reach out and I'm like, hi, my name is Djinji Brown. I have something that I think you might like. My man is like in all caps, bro, fall back. I know who you are. And thank you, because I tend to be a little, formal when I should be informal, or I should be, and vice versa. But anyway, bro, it was so brilliant because I understood exactly, what you were doing. And how you were doing it, and then the mix between the audio from the actual clip and the song, the way you do it is I hadn't seen it before. There's all these other accounts that do what they do, but I don't have my hat on. I don't wear them much anymore. But hats off, because
Thank you, sir.
Then I saw Crew, I saw Daddyo, and I'm like, I grew up with him in the same projects in the Bronx Soundview section. Morrison and Story, to be exact. I'm from 825. He's from 875. There's 2 buildings right there. Wow. And the history of that block and who came out of our buildings, Queen Lisa Lee, You know, she came out of 825 Morrison Avenue. Easy LG, who's the brother of Big LG, Soul Sonic Force DJ, he come out of Chad's building, and the list goes on. Tuffy, you know, Tuffy Quetzal, he's from 825. Hot Dog, the dancer, who was down with Chuck Rock, he from 821. He taught me how to boogie when I was 13. We be in the basement popping and shit. I mean, it goes on. We have a lot of unsung heroes on that block. So when I saw you have Chad and crew, I said, oh my God, it's like you just hitting nerve after nerve after nerve. Goosebumps start standing up. So to be here with you now, to be here with your friends and with your collaborators is it's organic. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So well, since you went there, let's talk about it. Like, you know, growing up in that environment, in that kind of epicenter of all this musical, you know, all these people coming out of it in the different facets of hip hop.
Yeah.
Early days. You know, I always love hearing any stories like from that time because I'm not from there, but I fell in love with the music nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, so in short, real quick, I'll give you a little summary of how I got to the Bronx. My mother is born and raised in New York City. She was born in 1949. She's the quintessential baby boomer. She was the 70s soul sister who married a free jazz musician, my father, Marion Brown. She went to Evander Childs High School in the Gun Hill section of the Bronx. And when she graduated, she went over to Paris to become a nanny, an au pair for a neighborhood friend, a friend of my uncle's, the Kellys, William Melvin Kelly and his wife, Karen Kelly. Rest in peace, William Melvin Kelly. He was a writer and wrote a few books, many books. So there was a group of Black expatriates over in Europe and Paris at the time, you know, under, I don't want to say underneath the James Baldwin umbrella, but in that school of thought.
Gotcha.
And my father was there, and, you know, avant-garde jazz was really hitting, and he was pretty popular. So they met, they got married in 1969. I came into the earth in 1970 in Georgia, but then I was never raised in Atlanta. We went right up to New England. We went to New England. My father taught in schools, and my mother went to Smith College. He taught at UMass in Western Massachusetts. And when she graduated Smith College, she was like, I got to get out of New England. I'm going back to New York to get my master's degree at Columbia University. So when we went back to New York, we landed in the Bronx in the Soundview section where my grandfather lived, 880 Boynton Avenue, which, here's another banger, 880 Boynton Avenue, between the years of 1968 and 1972, the great Jimmy Castor lived in that building. So when he wrote Just Begun, he was in the Bronx.
Wow.
That's more factual. So I'm only, you know, I was born in 1970. I'm a baby, but I found that out to be the actual fact. Jimmy Castor lived there for a shorter period of time. So when I got there in 1980, I used to visit the Bronx all through the 70s. We would drive down from New England and we get on Story Avenue. Whenever I would see these big buildings, it looked like, remember that Jetsons episode with the robot football players? Yeah. Remember that shit? Right? That's how the projects looked to me, like big ass robots. They were imposing, and they were huge with these little stacks, and the stacks, the smoke stacks, which used to be the incinerator rooms where the smoke came out. I thought they were little heads of the robot, and the whole building was the body. That's how I saw the project. So when I moved there, you know, and had to live there in 1980, I was scared shitless because I was coming from New England. I used to visit. It's one place to visit. It's one thing to visit, but nothing to live there. So I think the year was like, I got my first pair of red Pumas in 1979. My grandfather gave them to a 9-year-old. I still lived in Massachusetts. He came up and said, look, here's some Pumas. And that was like my first bit of like New York culture shit on my feet. Like, you know what I mean? 1979, red suede Pumas. No kid in Massachusetts had it. But when I moved to the Bronx, it was like, be careful wearing them Pumas. You'll get robbed at 9, 10 years old. It was a serious thing. Yeah. But, you know, my earliest memories sonically of the culture, because before it became known as what it's became, it was just things that people did, how we expressed ourselves. And it's to that point, you know, Boynton Avenue between Lafayette and Story. We had DJ Lightning Lance lived in my building too. He was another dude. And they used to do jams in the basketball court on Story Avenue between Boynton and Colgate. But they also would do jams right on Boynton Avenue, and they would plug into the street light. We lived on the 14th floor. I couldn't go outside, but I remember looking off the terrace, looking out my window, going, damn, and there they were, like that whole thing, the DJs, the MCs, and the echo chamber and the reverberation, the sounds bouncing off the projects and the concrete, the reflective environment, the whole 9 yards. And it just, it blows your mind at any age, but much less a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old. It just completely, like, you don't quite understand what you're seeing, but you know that it's something you have to be a part of some kind of way. And in order to do that, you got to get into the street, and your mama don't want to let you out the house. So you're like, how am I going to get into that? And as you get older, you figure out, you find your own way, you find your own way into it. So yeah, that's how I got to the Bronx. Mama brought me back home.
Wow. Yeah. How long did you end up living there?
So I lived in New York from 1980 to 2004 when I moved to Miami, and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
And in the time I lived in New York, it was between the Bronx, and then I lived in Brooklyn a couple times. I lived in Brooklyn in the late 80s, 88 to 89, just for like a season out in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
And then I went back to the Bronx, and then I moved out to my cousin Petey, my mother's first cousin had a studio. He said, look, I know you're trying to get back out your mom's house. I got a studio. I'm getting ready to get married. I'm moving down the block to Jefferson Avenue in Bed-Stuy. I got this studio on St. James Place.
Yeah.
Follow me now. And I'm like, I don't know shit about Brooklyn. I mean, not that part of Brooklyn. I'm a Bronx dude, and it's a different world. So I go out there. I get this little studio apartment. It's on St. James and Lafayette. So right down the block is Lafayette Gardens. Later, I come to find out, the significance of that place in Easy Mo B, being from LG Projects.
Yep.
But Biggie lived right down the block between Fulton and Gates. So I didn't know who he was, but when I first moved there, Brooklyn was still that Brooklyn that produced all that beautiful music, and that beautiful music had to come out of rough terrain, and it was that.
Yeah.
So, I moved there, stayed in Brooklyn until 96. My ex-wife, my daughter's mother, my ex-wife, Raquel Cepeda, who's another powerful force in the culture as a writer. We moved back to the Bronx before my daughter was born, and then we moved back to Boynton Avenue. So I only lived Morrison Avenue. I only lived in Soundview when I lived in the Bronx. I never lived nowhere else.
Gotcha.
Like, I went back, stayed there for 8 years, and reconnected with the roots, reconnected with Chad, reconnected with, rest in peace, the Mighty Ha, reconnected with Yogi from Crew, reconnected with all them cats, just and at that point I was just in full swing with my SP1200. I was, I'd already done the Supernatural album, so I came back to the Bronx with a different skill set and a different perspective, different mindset. I had something to offer and to talk about more than I did when I was 10.
Right.
I have to ask on allmusic.com, it says you're the apprentice to Eric Vietnam Sadler.
Oh yeah. I did not Yo, Eric is my fucking heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric is the unsung hero of the boom bap.
Mm-hmm.
His name is not brought up enough.
Right.
His musicianship is unparalleled. If not for him, right. I watched that man program, and just the way he worked, because he understood music, but he also understood, he was a technician. So you put a machine in front of Eric, he's going to figure it out almost intuitively, but to the point where you think, damn, did he actually build this shit? Like he just knew. So Eric actually loaned me my first SB1200. It was one of his. He said, take it home, buy yourself a turntable. I'm not paying for that shit, but you got to do something, brother. I'm giving you this. You got to do that. So my man Blue Black from Unspoken Herd, says, look, man, boom. Let's chip in on the turntable. We go down to Canal Street, get the SL1200, take it back to my crib and set up, Eric's SP12. This was 92.
Wow.
Eric was the first one to believe in my potential as someone who could use the term beat maker becomes so cliche, but just as one of those cats that can. I used to stay after his sessions and just practice on the SP12 and the S950 setup. I would stay late at Green Street until the break of dawn. Like, trying to figure out what they were doing, understanding the MIDI notes and how to work it through this and work it through that, and sample time and which one is the chunky sample, which one's the little sample. So yeah, I love Eric. If anybody knows him, if he's listening, man, he knows how I feel about him, because when I see him, I tell him. There's no question. Yeah. Eric Sal is he's the main root to the whole thing I'm doing, even to this day when I get back to it. It's because of E.
Yeah. Oh yeah! Shout out to Vietnam. So I was gonna pull this one also.
I was the assistant engineer on this album.
I got it right here.
I worked on that album. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, that's why I pulled it.
That shit was crazy. I worked on that. Yeah. She was. Respect Sister Soldier, but that was a challenging session. The engineer Dan Wood probably got it the worst. Poor Dan Wood. Dan Wood was a cool dude, but man, he was so humble and laid back. And a lot of these rappers back then, they used to kick the engineers in the ass, like with the verbs. It was just like treated them like fucking just like servants. Eric never did. Prince Paul never did. These are guys who really understood the relationship and how important it was. But you'd be surprised at some of the stuff the artists did to the engineers, just behavior-wise. It was like, it's not necessary.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm not calling anybody out, but I just, it was challenging. But it was an understandable time. Like, I understand why we all go through the different phases of who we are as young people before we become older and we kind of mellow out. I'm a laid back dude, but I had my ways of being difficult. I mean, it's part of learning who you are as an artist, as an individual, as a person. Can't always be easy to get along with.
Right, of course.
Especially when you're making music that's protest music. When you make a music that's protest music, and enough respect to that sister, because she was, everything that she spoke about was what she was about. So she was accessible, but also kind of unapproachable. You know what I mean? You had to step to her with understanding who she was and what her principles were. So you couldn't step to her and a lot of engineers used to look at rappers and hip hop artists during that time with less than the respect that what they would call a real musician would get. So understandably so, a lot of us would come into the studio with our guards up, and I was one of the people that could kind of help bridge a gap of communication and be like, look, we all in here, it's all cool. Ain't nobody got to be this side, that side. The engineer's working on your behalf, and the artist is actually, giving you a new challenge. So I understood where each side was coming from. I was kind of like a transaction broker, if you may.
Yeah. Before we continue on in the hip hop journey, I got to talk real quick about Absolution.
Oh yeah, that's another chapter. So come with it.
Yeah, I want to know how it all happened, and because it wasn't very long, right?
No, it was a meteor, but it was New York City culture and the subway system is this thing that just brings things that are seemingly far apart to a very close, intersection. That term is another cliche term, intersectionality, but having lived it, I understand, it's real. So I got to the hardcore scene through the punk scene, through the freestyle scene, and the in that backwards order: freestyle, punk rock, hardcore. One person was the major catalyst for all of those ventures. That was Sergio Vega. Sergio Vega is one of the most prolific bass players in that hardcore scene. Not only was he a part of this group called Quicksand, he also played with the Deftones, West Coast stuff. Yeah. He rocked with them for some years. And Sergio was a super young, talented graffiti writer who had a short run, but during his run, he caught my eye. We lived in the same similar neighborhood. I ran into him in junior high school, and I didn't really hook up with him until I was in high school because he was a couple years older than me, so he could stay out later than I could. So Sergio used to try to get me to go to Danceteria, and Danceteria was one of these clubs downtown in Chelsea that just had like 4 floors, and there was everything on every floor. Yeah. Right. So you could go to this room, to that room, to that room. One of the rooms was a freestyle kind of new wave and then punk goth room, and he got gravitated to that, and he took me downtown, and we started hanging out. And I was kind of like, fuck rap at that time. No, I really was.
Guys, keep going. I'll be right back. I got to deal with something real quick, but my apologies. I'll be right back.
it really wasn't even like fuck rap. It was just like the era of the mid 80s was very stressful in a way. We tend to glorify it, but you know, Ultra, maybe you can chime in, or any of you. You know, the pressure from the street to be something that you weren't was real. You know, and a lot of young people got caught up into a lifestyle that really wasn't their essence, but you know, in order to survive in certain neighborhoods and to have some type of street credibility, and it wasn't in my veins to do certain things, you know.
Right.
So I found that the punk rock expression allowed me to find a different part of myself where I didn't have to, you know, live up to certain, you know, expectations that the hood wants people to live up to.
Right.
I could almost reinvent myself and find another part of myself in that reinvention process. So that drew me to it. And then you find CBGBs, and CBGBs was just like an amazing place to be. It was mind blowing in the 80s. The Sunday matinee was just like, what is this? It was so surrealistic in retrospect, because you know, like the cops aren't coming to break this shit up. This is amazing. It was really crazy. So yeah, I did that for a little bit, and not for a little bit, but rocked with Absolution till about 89. And then found my way, you know, back into hip hop, because 89, 90, I mean, oh man, the message was so strong. It reeled me back in.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a lot of, and I'm sure you could speak to this. There's a lot of parallels between hip hop and hardcore, because I myself, I remember I think it was the summer of '87, and I have a friend, rested dead, my man Skip. He was into hardcore, and I remember one summer he gave me like a mixtape, and it had Minor Threat, it had 7 Seconds, it had the Dickies, like, you know, Gorilla Biscuits, like he had all these groups, and he gave it to me, and it was just this, I don't know, at the time, like teenage angst. It was fast,
absolutely,
and the vocals were always fast, and like it kind of reminded me of hip hop. And the funny thing is, prior, me and Skip, like we'd be in like middle school, you know, on the yard for like lunch, and we were singing like Jam Master Jay. So like we come from hip hop, but then he got me into hardcore. And when I was in school, him and another friend of mine, Jay Lockman, they formed a band called Turning Point, and they would go to like DC like on the weekends, and they'd come back and he'd have these zines.
I remember that band.
Yeah. Those were high school friends of mine.
I remember that.
The lead singer was Skip, rested dead. He passed away. That was my homeboy. That was my man. But
I remember that name.
Yeah, many parallels between hip hop and hardcore.
Yeah, the energy, like you said, you know, it was both. It was defined by youth culture. You know, it another parallel is wild, because when we talk about the names hardcore and hip hop, before that, it was just, you know, we tend to call it the culture. But prior to, someone out there will probably correct me or just dial me in, but prior to 81, 82, it was punk rock, right? But then this thing in New York kind of dialed in that name. Like there's a club called Niagara, but it's A7, and it has like a little, not a plaque, but like where it just says the birthplace of American hardcore, like 1981, 82. And in around that same time, the term hip hop stuck. They weren't on each other's cell phones texting each other, you know, from borough to borough, talking about, hey, let's call this that, let's call this this. Right. But, you know, creativity just works in a way where it's like a storm. It's just a storm. It's like a storm of electrical energy, or whatever kind of energy you want to call it. And if you're out, you get it. You know, there's no shield from it. You get it. You get wet, you get electrified, you get muddy, you get dirty. And in essence, the message was the same. It was like, here we are. You don't hear us, but you're going to hear us now sonically, because this music is so loud and fast. You're going to pay attention whether you want to or not. Here we are.
Yeah.
And that's what both of those musical expressions just tattooed on us, you know? So it was good to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I would have to agree.
It was loud. It was loud. It was loud. My pops came to CBGB's once, and again, he knew the Lower East Side because he had played in jazz clubs like Slugs on Avenue D in 4th Street, which has an amazing legacy, but a kind of a grimy one too. He was also right on the block from CBGB's at 27 Cooper Square, where Leroy Jones used to live, and Mary Baraka, rest in peace. Yeah. And it was the Loft. Archie Shep was there. Cats used to hang out and play, and they used to jam. So he understood. You know, they called those free jazz people crazy, and he came to a gig one day and said, "Damn, this shit is crazy." But you know, he opted me for doing that crazy than other street crazy, which could have gotten me locked up or in jail or seriously maimed. Right. You know, so he came twice. I think I got a picture on my Instagram of Pop hanging out in front of CBGB's 1988. Wow. It always gets a lot of likes because it's a sincere picture.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sincere.
There's a picture of you on the internet when you do that split, the kick.
Man, I don't know who that boy is. Look, I don't know who that boy is. That kid, because see, HR had the front flip.
Right.
No, HR had the back flip. John Joseph from the Cro-Mags had the front flip. And truth be told, I was probably afraid to flip. You know, like if I miss and hit my head, it's a wrap. I said, but I'll do a David Lee Roth, might as well jump. And I was always flexible, so I just used my God-given attribute and jumped up high. I didn't play basketball, but I could jump, you know. Man can jump but can't hoop. That was me. So I still can't fucking hoop. That's not my shit. But I used to jump up over cats and get spread on them and be like this. Wow. So that was I want to say that was my move, but that was the shit. That was that Djinji shit because HR was HR, John was John, and everybody else was everybody else. So you got to use what God gave you and take it to the level you can take it to.
Yeah.
You know, no copycats allowed. You can be influenced, but you can't. You know, that was another thing about hardcore hip hop. Like if you was just a straight up copier or biter, you know, you're gonna catch hell. So better to be whack being yourself than to be good being somebody else. Just you know, be whack being yourself, and if you stay to it, you'll probably get better than if you try to be the next man. You'll never be that person. You'll never be that person.
So how did you first get into engineering?
A segue, beautiful segue, perfect question, beautiful segue. I got into engineering because of hardcore, because of punk rock, because of one man in particular. Rest in peace, Jerry Williams. Jerry Williams was a centerpiece to the punk rock scene and sonically to the culture. You probably don't know this, but he's the one, you know, that iconic Bad Brains tape, the Roar cassette, the red, gold, and green joint?
Yeah.
That was recorded at 171A Studio in 1982 or 81 on Avenue A and 11th Street. Jerry Williams was the engineer.
Wow.
And Jerry Williams was the engineer of the Cro-Mag Roar cassette that came out in 84. The cassette, the Cro-Mag's Roar cassette was brutal. Like if you thought the album, The Age of Quarrel, was crazy, Mackie Jason on the drums brought hip hop to that shit. He brought the beats. Like so there's another segue. Mackie used to write, he used to paint, piecing on trains when he's like 13 in 1979. He's got his receipts, but his music, he brought that shit to the Cro-Mags in a way that no other hardcore group had. So it solidified its sonic street credibility and brought like, oh shit, just check when we finish, check out the intro to We Gotta Know, and that's all you gotta know. And so Jerry was the engineer, you know, on for the Bad Brains and for the Cro-Mag. And one night in '89, I'm at his crib, and oh man, I learned so much from Jerry about how to listen, what to listen to. And he says, "Hey man, I'm getting ready to go into my brother Tim's studio. He's at the studio over on Bond Street somewhere, right? And SSL studio, 24 track, the whole shebang."
Wow.
He says, "I'm gonna take these old Bad Brains outtakes I have on 4 track, bounce them to 24, and mix them down. You want to come?" I'm like, "Shit, yeah." I'm 19. I said, "Fuck, I want to go." And we got there, and you know, Jerry always had the good smoky smoke, so we smoked, and I watched him manipulate the Starship, the studio. I had been in studios with my father before, but the music that my dad was playing at the time, it didn't really, capture my attention because that's my dad.
Yeah.
And jazz is far out for a little kid. I don't care. It was far out for me. But this shit, I'm like, I'm gonna hear raw HR vocals. I'm gonna hear Earl on. I'm gonna hear Gary. I'm gonna hear Doc. And it was a 4-track. So I'm hearing Jerry isolate this shit and then dump it. And it was that day I said, shit, I don't know what I want to do. I dropped out of college. I said, I'm going to go to engineering school. So I went to the Institute of Audio Research on University Place. It was because of Jerry and hardcore and that experience. And that was just such a real, literal segue, because then I wind up becoming an intern at Green Street in Soho.
Yeah.
And that's a half a mile, if not, if that, from the Bowery, but a world apart, but the same world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does Daddyo say about Green Street?
Oh man, Daddyo. I don't know what's Daddyo say about
Green Street.
That's where I met Daddyo. I met Daddyo at Green Street in '93. I first started as an intern, then I became an assistant, and by '93 I would get certain gigs as a staff engineer. Sometimes they would get someone else to mix it down, but I could do tracking, basic recording, whether it was vocals or transfer. So Daddyo, if you're listening, here it is. He had a 1977 2-inch of Barry White's Ecstasy. He was going to do a remix for A&M Records. I believe that was the label, but I know he had the tape. I see it. It was from 1977. This is 1993, so it's a lot of years in between. And we had to take the original, bounce it from one tape to a new tape, because when you're doing a remix, you got to go back and forth on the head-to-heads. Those older tapes, depending on how they were kept, lost a lot of the there's all this scientific terminology that escapes me, but when a tape was too old, it was like a rubber band. It lost its connection point. So it would basically would stop rolling around the rollers. I should know all these terms, but it's been so long since I've been in the analog studio. But, and the tape had no click track because the drummer's all over the place. You know what I mean? It's real life funk. There's no SMPTE track on 24. There's no click track on 23. So there's no way to sync it to what we used to use to sync tracks, which was the Roland SBX 80, SBX 90 sync box. So there was none of that. So Daddyo was producing it, and he had some other people up in there working with him. But that's how I met him. And through Daddyo, he introduced me to Freestyle Fellowship. And then in the summer of '93, when I went out to California to see my grandmother, rest in peace, he said, look, you got to link up with my man Mike Anon, because I know you into the jazz and all that, and this is the group. So I get out there, I call Mike, and I tell my grandmother, hey, I'm getting ready to go hang out with a friend of this guy I'm going to meet. He lives over on Potomac Avenue. She was like, the jungle? And I said, I guess. I don't know what it is. She said, boy, you ain't going to no damn jungle. I used to live out there. They crazy. And I called Mike, and I'm not getting through to Mike, but somehow I got AC Alone's number. AC says, yo, I'll come and pick you up. AC comes and picks me up in an Impala. And yo, me and that dude, it was like finding a brother that you never knew you had, but knew you had as soon as you seen him. And AC, we just locked like boom. We just locked. And he brought me into that scene out in LA in '93. And that shit just summer '93 was another just like
ooh, yeah.
So Daddyo, boom, link up with my man Mike. I get out there to Mike. I'm trying to reach Mike. He was busy with his lady and his kid or whatever. Yeah, my man AC gonna come pick you up. Ace comes. Ace is like clockwork. Ace links me up with, I meet all his people, Abstract Rude. I met the Project Blowed before it became the Project Blowed.
Yeah.
I went to the Good Life with them, They brought me. I met Fat Jack, Ganja K, rest in peace. Me and Green, rest in peace. I saw these guys, shook hands, smoked with them. Yeah, it's wild. So yeah, Daddyo was a link.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you're talking our language.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Daddyo was a link, man. And Mike and AC, I hadn't their approach to rhythm, You know, New York MCs, we ride the beat. You know, we in between the kick and the snare, sometimes a little bit like this, but we always fall back on the, you know, we fall in the 2 and the 4. Yeah. We fall in the 2 and the 4. We accent on the 2 and the 4. It's how we walk. Yes. We walk like that. We walk on the 2 and the 4. That dude, that's a Brooklyn bop. That's a Bronx bop. You can't even try to do it. It just does its thing. But them LA cats, they move different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they hear different.
Yeah.
And I was out of my league when I went there with them cats because I was like, what is happening? I had no, man, we went up in the Mike's crib. I watched them dudes freestyle and I thought I had some kind of something and I walked out like I have nothing. It's like,
I tell people, a lot of people, I said,
genius, man.
Just take those 4, you know, Oof. AC, Mike, Peace, Self Jupiter.
What?
They're like some of the best MCs I've ever heard. And like you're saying, it's something you never heard. No. And it's otherworldly. It's something else. It's something else.
It must have been like the way Coltrane and George Harrison started, you know, bugging out over Eastern Indian music because they have a different scale.
Yeah.
Because they're hearing music different notes, different. Like, oh wow, like you could talk to God like that. Like, it was. So those brothers, I haven't seen them in years, but I love them dearly. You know, I love them dearly. Yeah. They were also a part of the growth and a part of the journey. Very instrumental.
Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah.
What about this one? You seen this one in a while?
I have not. That's another one. Yeah, that was man. I think I got 2 joints on that. So
you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You lucky somebody stole my tape. You lucky somebody stole my tape, Flatline.
Matter of fact, this brother, this brother, man, I'm so terrible with names, and if he's looking and I forget your name, please forgive me, man, because we had a whole IG conversation about that shit. He pulled my code like, Brown, check this out. I was like, oh shit. So yeah, that was another 93 kind of thing. I think
93, 94.
93, 94.
Yeah. So, that's the first time I heard Rozelle was on that.
Yeah. Because
crazy
Rozelle,
album, man. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Shaki, and that was 23 years old. Wow. That's a mind blower right there.
Yeah.
And so back to Eric, like that's when I'm just like, oh shit, this is what this drum machine could do. But I came into Green Street at a time when I don't want to say a torch was being passed, but things were changing. From Eric's style of production was so the details were, I mean, oh man, just so scientific. His equations were different.
Yeah.
And then I get this assistant engineer gig with Pete Rock and CL on the remixes for Mecca and the Soul Brother and the creator of the remixes. I was never the same.
Yeah.
I was between Pete and between Eric and Pete, it was like I've never seen a more naturally gifted human being do anything, much less make a beat than Pete Rock. His God-given talent. To hear it is one thing, to see it.
Yeah.
To see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude, the dude's got long fingers. It's like they're magical. He's a tall dude. His fingers are long. He would have been an amazing, upright bass player or piano player or any instrument that was put in front of him. But because of his legacy, his father as a DJ and the records and, Hev and Marley Marl and just coming through that thing, he was on the genius. He was born a genius, but he was on the track to be who he was. Everybody around him, I'm sure, knew this boy is this man, young man is special. I watched him make They Reminisce Over You. I saw it.
Wow.
I saw it.
Wow.
Because they originally had the beat that's on there, the Wig Out. CL was originally going to put those lyrics on the Wig Out, and they did a version, but it didn't things change. I don't think I've ever seen a song with much emotion in hip hop at that time when everybody was trying to be hard and keep it real. This shit was like, it sounds like another cliche term, but it was black joy.
Yeah.
And it was the type of black joy that any ethnicity, any race, anybody could feel and feel like they were a part of and not excluded from.
There's a melancholy to it, but there's a celebration about it as well.
Yeah.
Bro, I got goosebumps because you're absolutely right. I watched it. He said, yo, Djinji, because he knew my dad was a musician, so we used to talk jazz. I saw him pull up the Tom Scott record and be like, yo, watch this shit. I watched him reprogram the James Brown loop. When I'm telling you, I watched him do it.
Man, don't you wish you had like a video camera at the time?
Man, we had no phones back then. They were landlines.
Right.
I saw him do it.
Wow.
And the thing about Pete was that on that album, I'm going to say most of those songs were all tracked, vocals, and mixed in one night. Very few did they come back and do twice. Wow. And a lot of times, that's what I'm saying, the process was different. It was such a feeling. Jamie Staub, the engineer, the engineer on, okay, hold on a second. So the engineer on this joint, right, was a dude named Chris Champion.
Yeah.
Chris Champion was someone that I looked to because he was, a Black American, the only one in the studio at the time who was an engineer. So when they did the remixes for this, he was like, okay, I think which way? Yeah, this way. He's like, you're ready, come on in and assist me. We were 21 years old. It's like a Lee Morgan at 16 playing with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. It's the same thing. It's like Tony Williams at 16 playing with Miles. It's the same thing. Like that's what we're talking about. But then by the time the Mecca and the Soul Brother album came out, Chris Champion went to work in a production company with who? Eric Sadler. So Chris fell back from engineering duties, and Jamie Staub is Chris's is Pete Rock's engineer to this day.
Yep.
They still working. They doing a common album.
Yeah.
So I'm talking like watching Pete make a beat, and before he would lay anything down, he would do a warm up like a dude going to the gym. And this is how Pete would warm up a session. He'd get his box of 3.5 floppy disks.
Yeah.
And while I'm getting the tape machines ready and Jamie's doing whatever he's doing, he's just, I did this shit in 20 minutes, 5 minutes before I came to the studio. And he's just popping in banger after banger that's not going on a record. His brother Grapp is in the room. Everybody's in the room just like, damn, like, yo, Pete, stop. And he was just like, incredibly talented, just like amazing. I mean, people were jealous of his talent because he could do a whole song in a session.
Yeah.
Most of that album was done that way. There's a few where they went back and did it again. They reminisce over You being one of them because, like I said, they took the beat from the Wig Out.
Yeah.
And the Wig Out became the Wig Out.
Right.
If my memory serves me correct, I don't smoke no more, so I'm pretty sure. But he said, nah, I got this new joint we gonna use for these lyrics. And again, it just became heavy. D was in the room, rest in peace, Charlie Brown who's who was coming through. It was like everybody in the street knew, the buzz was already out.
Yeah.
The buzz was out. Electric Records had the buzz out. Dante Ross had the buzz out. Anybody even slightly connected with Pete, the buzz was in the street. People knew. I was going back to the Bronx like, yo, this dude is crazy. So my people was waiting. They were waiting to hear to finish it. I was running my mouth, Pete Rock this, Pete Rock that. But yeah, that was one of the most another situation that just changed my life for the better. To this day.
Wow. You're talking about remix when you were mentioning the Daddyo and doing transferring to new tape to do a remix.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you worked on.
I did. Yeah, I did work. I worked on that. I worked on It's a Boy with the Extra P, whose birthday's coming up. Big shout to the Large Professor.
Yeah.
He was another brilliant mind to watch work. Him and Pete, they had different approaches, but they got I love watching these dudes go through records just to find that and then watch what I do with this and link it and do all this shit. Yeah. And I also worked on Get a Job.
Oh,
Pete Rock joint.
Love that song.
Yeah, I was the assistant engineer on those two. Maybe some other ones, but those two are the ones that I know. I put my memory on.
You're credited for the title track for Behind Bars.
I was probably there for that one too. Okay, I mean, if they put, because they were really on point with their credits back then. But It's a Boy and Get a Job, like they stare in my memory. I can see the session now.
Yeah, because I was curious. Well, you might not remember. I was curious if you remembered, because the version that's on the album, and I'm not talking about the Warren G one, but the one that Epitome of Scratch did.
Yeah, that's another one of Eric's homeboys, Rob Taylor.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Prince Paul had done the original version of that song.
Okay.
and that's on the De La Balloon Mind State album. That's the one that he's on that phone message talking about, yo, man, they didn't give me credit for my joints on the source.
I probably knew that then. So I met Paul the next year in '94 when he did Gravediggers. I was the assistant engineer on the Gravediggers album.
Right.
With the engineer Scott Harding, another brilliant mind.
Scotty Hard.
Scotty Hard, just
this guy
to him. And Paul, he was the humblest. Like, he just had no air of big-headedness about him. Yeah. He treated everyone like an equal. Everyone was working with him, not under him. He included everybody in the process to some degree. And he would look you in the face and ask you, like, he didn't need to ask you what do you think, but if he was talking to you, he's just a real human being. One of the just most sincere cats that I met during that time, Prince Paul. And so RZA was always late. He was never on time to the session. The Wu-Tang was hot. Why would he be on time? Right. Poetic, rest in peace, was always on time. Fu Kwan was always on time. But RZA, we always had to wait 4 or 5 hours. Every time he came through with the Wu, like, not the group, but like, where's he from? Not Stapleton, or whoever. Them cats, them Staten Island cats would come to Green Street, start doing kung fu in the hallway with a blunt in now. I swear to God, it was wild. It was like, this shit is bananas. But I'm actually on one. I'm on a skit. There's a skit on that album. Yeah. I go, RZA, how many licks does it take, to bite the head off a some shit like that? A lollipop. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So and Paul was like, yo, Djinji, let's use your voice. I was like, what do you want me to say? Because that was Paul, skit master. There's no skit without Prince Paul.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's none.
Yep.
He's the segue king.
Yeah. Yep.
He's the master of sequencing an album where it becomes a story and not just a series of songs. That's him. And the Bomb Squad too. Not two, and the Bomb Squad, but just in different ways. Paul's approach was lighthearted. Mm-hmm. It made it fun, and zany, and with PE, it was like, yo, we getting ready to go to war. Strap up, get your revolutionary, pack together, whatever it is you need to have to go fight. And this is how this story is going. So as far as sequencing albums, nobody beats from that era to me. Nobody beats telling the story. Nobody beats the whole album, the Bomb Squad and Paul. Like this is nobody sequence like those guys. I don't think a lot of people saw that far ahead. It's like the writer of a movie who writes the end of the movie and then works backwards.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything leading to this point, but we already know what the point's going to be. So now you're not at the end of the movie. Like it's never anticlimactic with these guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're they understand the journey that they're going to take you on. And once you press play, that's where you're going.
Yep. Yeah. I learned a lot from the way they sequence records, and I still use to this day. Yeah. Yeah,
it's in our DNA as people that were raised to produce and to sample and just to like hip hop change the way people hear and experience music,
Yeah.
And no matter what other genre you went into, it's a part of it's your ear is there. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah. I gotta ask about this one. We talked to because your name's on it, and we talked to Al Tariq about it, and it's just one of the.
I was I now I don't remember the song, but I remember the session being an assistant engineer.
It's Rick's joint.
Rick's joint. Yep.
Yeah.
So I was there. They did that in the A room. So Green Street had two main rooms, Studio A and Studio B. Studio B is where Pete Rock did most of his stuff. All Mecca and the Soul Brother was done there. All Sold Out was done, some of it in the A room. And the Gravediggers did most of their stuff in the B room. Maybe some tracking. The Bomb Squad did most of their stuff in the B room. Eric loved the B room. Rod Huey worked in the B room.
Yeah, shout out to Rod Huey.
But that was in the A room. That was an A room session. So sometimes I remember just like what room it was. I remember Psycho Lass and Juju. Juju was the most personal one for me. I didn't always vibe with everyone, and they didn't always vibe with me. But Juju, he was just real down to earth and real cool brother. So we I remember that, talking to him, and it helps a 12-hour session kind of float by, or a 14-hour session when there's someone you can vibe with. There's so much an assistant engineer can do. I'm plugging in patch cables and setting up mics, but there's also a lot of sitting around. In the beginning, you set up the session, you tweak the machine, you get everything, but then you're just like, damn, now what? Until someone says, yo, I need the menu, or call me some food, or whatever. So, but certain cats made you feel like a runner, and other cats made you feel like a part of the session. Juju was one of those dudes that make you feel like a part of the session, no matter what your role in the studio was.
Yeah.
I just had to say, I heard you guys talking about Prince Paul and the king of the skit and whatever. All I had to say was Prince Paul's a sucker.
Hey, Paul.
That's all I had to say.
I actually, last time I saw Paul was about this time last year. It was March 21st, 2023. He played at Dante's Hi-Fi down here for Miami Music Week.
Oh,
I popped in and was like, he was already in the mix. But I was like, Paul, what's up? He's like, what's up, Djinji? He was mixing. So, but yeah. So, I don't know if we're gonna get to it, but if not, I'm gonna segue into it. I have to, because this album.
I was just gonna ask.
Okay. Yeah, this album.
And what's going on here? What's going on here?
Oh man, Buddha blessed it. I mean, I used to smoke like a chimney. I haven't smoked anything in 10 years. I used to put a chimney to shame. So, that album, we did it in 95, and I had Eric's lessons in me. I had Pete's lessons in me. I had 4 years of Green Street, of all these sessions that I saw, that I worked on. I had all these countless hours of working behind the scenes. So I got a production deal with 99. I don't know if anybody remembers 99, but she was another meteor. So I had this production deal with her. I did this track called Roots on Me for her. I did a whole demo that, damn, man. Adam Yauch was like, this shit is dope. Rest in peace. Adam Yauch got behind this demo tape.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I met that good brother.
Wow.
That's that's another story. So we did this joint, and then Nine was like, I'm gonna hit you up with the production company, the publishing company. I'm gonna get you a publishing deal. She had a publishing deal with Paisley Park Prince at the time.
Wow.
So she brought me on. Right. I never met Prince, but I heard that he liked the demo tape.
Yeah.
And so he pushed it to the woman who was head of, talent and a whole bunch of other executive decisions at Paisley Park, which is a woman named Kat Jackson. They signed me to a publishing deal, gave me some money so I could get some equipment. This was in 94. It was the same summer that my dad got really ill and changed the trajectory of his life. And Kat reached out to me and said, look, we want to sign you, but I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Like, Paisley Park's not going to be around much longer because Prince is going to dissolve it. He doesn't want to deal with any of these higher wigs. He wants to do his own thing. So, but I'm going to get you this deal. I'm going to give you this money, and I want you to buy some equipment and make some music. And so she gifted me with that transparency, but also with that gift. So then I could give Eric back his $1,200. Yo, Eric, take your SP back. I went to Sam Ass and brought my own shit. I brought an ASR 10 at the time. I had a little $5,000 in cash in my pocket. I felt like I was just, and you run up in the sand, man, I want this, I want that. And then I go to Canal Street and buy some speakers that sound like shit sonically, but you buy them because they're big and they've got not Velcro, but like, the cloth on top and shit, the gray cloth.
Yeah.
So I'm making beats in the crib in Clinton Hill, right down the block from Biggie. And one day, Super Nat calls me up. I knew Super Nat from the rap poetry scene, but we hadn't linked yet. Okay. He had already done a full album with KRS-One, and KRS and Kenny Parker produced the whole album. He submitted it to East West Electra Records. East West was like, it's cool. Mind Tricks the Body is a dope song, but we need a whole album. And they didn't really want to push the whole album. So Nat called me on Martin Luther King Day, 1995. It was snowy in Brooklyn. He said, "You're Brown." He beat me or whatever. I don't know how, landlines and beepers. I called him back. He's like, "Yo, I did this record. I know you make beats. I need something different, something special." I went, picked him up. He used to live on Sackett Street. I had a little Honda Accord. Went to the crib, picked him up. We said, "Look, let's go over to St. John's Franklin," copped a couple bags, drove around Brooklyn on a gray, snowy day, got smoked out. He freestyled to one of I used to make these beat tapes called volumes, Brown Surround, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
I took one of my volumes, the latest one I was working on, all SP12 joints, real raw setup in the crib. And he just spat. We drove around Brooklyn for an hour. A side of the tape, 30 minutes. B side of the tape, 30 minutes, all 60-minute cassettes. And this motherfucker did not stop eating them beats. And we rolling blunts and rapping while he fucking rolling weed and breaking up the chocolate tie. And he didn't miss. And he just would rhyme and fucking rap and rap. The car is a hot box, and it was Brooklyn. I said, "Bro, let's go back to the crib." I had a Tascam 688 SM57 mic. We went back and we probably did 4 or 5 joints that day. And so from January to April, we did that album all on a 4-track, all in my room, on Tascam 688, all SB1200. All the vocals were recorded on the SM57 mic, and they were all one takes. When you listen to that album, understand this, because the man didn't write shit down at the time. And if they were a 2-take, it was because he said, "Oh, no, stop. I know where I want to go." He didn't. He never told me I know what I want to say. He said, "I know where I want to go."
Yeah.
You listen to Mission Impossible, Gods Incorporated. Oh my God, boom! And I was in my bag at the time. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna be the. Again with my hardcore shit, there was HR and John Joseph. They were my main influences. Then with the hip hop, it was Eric and it was Pete. And I was like, okay, now I'm in my bag, and in my mind, I wasn't trying to be them, but I was trying to work with the gifts and the lessons that I learned from them. And I was in my own zone now. I took a year off from working at Green Street Engineer. I didn't want to hear nobody else's shit for a minute. I didn't want to plug in nobody else's shit. I had a little production publishing money out there. I was a big shit. Went through that money like this, but I made the record. We made the record.
Yeah.
And Buddha Blessed came out. And it was a nice little summertime hit, little vibe. And when we produced the whole album to them, they said, "What is this?" They were not appalled, but they were just like, "What the fuck do we do with this?"
Wow.
The A&R, we took it to the crib, got her high, because you had to smoke to listen to the record. If you didn't smoke, we was gonna get you high. We was gonna make sure you got it into your system some way. Contact or not, shotgun some way. And we turned off the lights, we lit candles, and she said, "I'm scared." It wasn't horrorcore. Nobody was robbing you. It wasn't like, "Yo, I'm coming right. I'm selling crack to your dogs and to your cats and to your babies." We weren't doing that. But this shit had people scared in a different way. Like, yo, these dudes are really not afraid to put this shit out, but we're not going to put it out because we won't make a dime. We will lose money if we put this record out. So they shelved it.
It was like, what, 3 years too late, that album?
3 years too late and 29 years too soon.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
That album, to be able to hold it, right? And now there's this whole resurgence of vinyl. Remember back in the 90s, vinyl was damn near dead. It was on life support. Everything was CD and cassette.
Yep.
Yeah.
all those people selling platinum records, they weren't selling 1 million fucking vinyl.
Right.
Yeah.
CD and cassette.
Yep.
So, now this shit is out.
Yeah.
Original artwork from Geology, dope brother Geology, Gerard Young, Doable Arts, rest in peace, Matt Do.
So
there's just a whole story. I told my mom's last week, like, we did this is all a one take. She said, that's true jazz improvisation. I said, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my mind, it wasn't the jazz of the groups at the time who had a jazz theme. The record companies didn't and couldn't put us in that category.
Yeah.
It was purely improvisational, like my father, Marion Brown, like the Coltrane's, like the Ornette's, like the Archie Sheps, the Pharoah Saunders, like Alice.
Yeah.
But just with the boom bap behind it.
Yeah.
Also, you also just blew my mind that he had a first album produced by KRS and Kenny Parker that they rejected.
So when the single came out, they said, look, we're not putting out any of these albums, but we'll put out an A-side, B-side. We'll put out Buddha Blessed because it was more catchy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they put out Mind Tricks the Body.
Yeah.
I had that single. I remember that. I'm waiting for the album.
Right. Those joints were crazy.
But they gave Natural back his masters, which they don't do. They said, boom, you take them. They really felt that there was no value in it to the point where they set this man free.
Wow.
And Super Nat is such another incredibly naturally talented dude that, when we got together, I was always looking for a voice that complemented my weird shit, and maybe he was looking for a sound that complemented his weird shit.
Yeah.
Weird is beautiful when it comes together in the right way, but when it's not, it just sticks out as weird. But when it's like, I remember when people were laughing at the first 36 Chambers because it didn't sound like EPMD and it didn't sound like this and it didn't sound like that. They were like, are these motherfuckers crazy? And yes, they were, and they were absolutely correct in being crazy.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
No, a lot of people were naysayers when 36 first came out. They were like, this shit ain't gonna last. And look,
I was one of those people. I didn't
get it. It changed the fucking world. It took a while to get
sonically, it was off. And I'm like, what?
Yo, they left mistakes up in there. They weren't doing 16 bars. They were doing 13 and a quarter bars.
Right.
MCs were cutting each other off.
Yeah.
Samples are just flopping all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah. The drums ain't quantized. It sounded like angel dust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was, what the fuck is, and look what happened.
Yeah.
And they had so much confidence in themselves that they didn't need people in the time to say, yeah, you're right. They're like, y'all don't believe us yet, but watch this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole thing was just around, and Natural had that and I had that, but the timing wise, like you said, 3 years too late because Wu comes out in 93, completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different, but just that like we're gonna step out the box and create our own lane and y'all gonna fuck with it.
Yeah.
The industry had gotten so damn formulaic and cookie cutter, and the choruses were the fucking same, and everything was like they were just the same. And if you don't do this, and you're not going to get a hit, it was like, come on, man, like, and everybody was singing about how the streets is this and the streets is that, but the record label and the industry just, they turned it into a formula, and half of the people who was making these decisions was never on food stamps and never had government cheese. What the fuck?
Yep.
They didn't know how that shit tastes. Mama crying because she cooking bologna and shit for 4 kids. Like, this is where this music came from. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But you had people who didn't have that experience telling you, this is not street enough. This is not real enough.
Right.
And me and Nat were like, yo, well, we don't want to really slang no drugs and do this, do that, but our shit is real too. Like, this is our experience as young men, as 25-year-olds. This is our American experience. This is our Black American experience. This is our multicultural experience. This is who we are. Like, fuck with it. It's dope.
Yeah.
No, it's just too weird. So
there's value in what you guys did, and I'm happy to see that it's finally seen the light of day, gotten that proper release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels it's like it's a vindication to a degree, and
Sure.
and natural. We're both born the same year and a day apart, so he's another one similar to AC. Like when we clicked, it was just instant. Like, damn, bro, like we really brothers like that, and it's like, yeah, we really. He's out there on the West Coast. Supernatural's a beautiful person, man. His heart is gold. He's got kind eyes, and he's a beast of a fucking MC. He'll eat you up.
Oh God,
Yep.
I've seen him do freestyling, and people just start throwing him stuff, and he's going for like 20 minutes just rhyming.
This was us in my Honda Accord. I'm telling you, bro. Like, I'm like, dude, shut up. Let's get some of this shit on tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love that brother, man. If he's listening to anybody, yeah, he knows how I feel about him because I tell him too. So it ain't no mystery.
And thank you for sending me this tape, because that's one thing that Flatline doesn't have is the cassette.
Well, you know what, bro? I can send you
you
one too, but you got the first one. Yeah, man. But yeah, it's great to be here, and since the album came out, I've had an MPC 1 in my apartment for 3 years, and the learning curve is different. Both of my old MPCs, them shits don't work.
Right.
They just don't. And I'm like, I'm gonna spend some money and get my old school equipment set up. And part of me was like, you got a new fucking drum machine, bro. Learn how to use it. The fuck is wrong with you? You're gonna spend money to go back, like, playing at Dante's through the graces of my brother Rich Medina got me touching records once a month, sometimes twice a month. So I'm going back into the crates, but listening to it differently.
Yeah.
I play the whole song where the sample comes from. I want people to experience that artist, that composer, that songwriter's full. Like, this is the whole story, not just the soundbite, which the sample's a soundbite. Yeah. So I'm like, oh shit, and I'm still learning about songs, like where this sample came from. 30 years. Oh shit, that's that record, amazing. And then I go to every song in the album, and I'm like, I'm playing this one.
Right.
Everybody else done beat the shit out of that song that the major sample came from, but they forgot it. They motherfuckers didn't listen to side B, track 4 or track 3. They didn't listen to the whole composition. The Mad Libs listened to the whole record. The J Dillas listened to the whole record. The Peace listened to the whole record for the music, and the sample came out of them listening.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how those guys, it's been a great experience. So I just knocked out some bangers a couple weeks ago. Something clicked, bro. It was like old Djinji came back, and I'm in the MPC 1, and you can do a shit ton in that thing. You can damn near mix a whole song in a standalone now.
Yeah.
Wow. It's almost scary. So I'm like, go.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I'm loving it. I'm still learning it, but I'm like, yeah, this is what I remember.
That'll feel it.
Just me. So Jennifer, my cat won't let me hug her, but she will hug me. If I try to pick up my cat, she'll scratch me. But she's in the room on my bed watching me make beats, and she meows because I don't give her no attention when I'm making beats. She gets upset.
He's a new addition.
Okay, well, he's a lovely addition. He's
isn't he though?
Yeah, no, he's beautiful. He's beautiful. I've grown to really understand and cherish the relationship between pets and humans, and it's been a while, but I'm here. So I always love to see people who love their pets and vice versa. It's beautiful.
Yeah, he's a new addition, and I'm liking his addition.
Yeah, my girlfriend's been instrumental in helping me, develop a deeper relationship with the animals, because she speaks their language. She's beautiful that way. She understands the whole frequency. So, but I have one. She's got a few, but I got one. And my girl Rosie is she cool. She's laid back, but she wants that attention. She's like, bro, you just came home. You gonna pet me? Do not go right to that damn machine. You gonna pay me some attention. So yeah, but it's good. It's good to have my hands back on the records. It's good to have my hands back on the machine, thinking like, let me take this and see what I can do with it, and not be afraid of the experiment, because I don't care about fitness. Everything's been done in hip hop already. Everything's been done in the house. Everything's been done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say I'm going to make these type of beats for these people, you're not going to do nothing new. So just do what you do.
Yeah.
And that's the only newness that you can bring to it is your individuality, because you know it's all been done, and the technology is so much that you don't even, you know, you can either use your brain and think around it, or you could just let the shit think for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd rather go the first way. Use the technology now with some of the same ideas that I had when I was younger, but now with a more mature or different mindset, different sonic experience. I can go, oh wow, this is fun, and the machine can do this. Shit, this is dope.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, just go with it. It's weird. I like it. It's not perfect. It's beautiful. You know, stuff like that. So
that's great.
It feels good. It feels good. Good.
Anything else you got going on you want to tell us about?
Well, real quick, again, a big shout to Rich Medina and Miami Dante's Hi-Fi. It's a really beautiful listening bar, and Rich brought me in on the week of its first soft opening in September of 2021. Rich Medina is another one who I can't say enough about. It's another 2-hour conversation. His contribution to the culture, to music, to vinyl culture, to appreciating the music that you're listening to, like the appreciation for the song. He's taught me so much about DJing, and the conversations have never been on a you got to match every beat to every beat. It's been more about find your way to make the songs talk to each other, and you know you already know how to tell a story, Brown. You know your music.
Yeah.
Like, you know, see, he's you know, that's my man. I love him to death too. I really do, man. So I'm there once a month. We do a monthly residency called Holy Smoke. It's called Spiritual Jazz and Gospel, and that's the theme. But from there, we just go wherever I want to go, wherever he wants to go, and we bring it back, and we go, and we bring it back, and we go, and we bring. It's like wherever the spirit takes you, that's spiritual jazz for me.
Yeah.
You know, and wherever the spirit takes me, that's the gospel. You know, I let the music speak. He lets the music speak. We have a good time. People actually come in, they really listen. They pay attention. Like, oh, that record sounds good. You know, oh, wow, I never heard that song. I know that album. I never heard that song. Or wow, I heard that song. I never heard nobody play it that way. What you do differently? You know, I just loved it the way I love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just we all love differently. Nobody loves the same. Nobody loves the same. So every DJ, every record collector, every pet owner, every lover, every fighter, we all approach the game differently. We all bring our different, you know, frequencies of love to the things that we do.
Yep. Yeah, Hypestyle wants to know if you have website, social media pages.
Social media pages, Djinji's Corner, DJINJIS_corner on Instagram. That's where I do my kettlebells and my record posts. Saturday I go out to the park, take a kettlebell, swing it around. I try to do in a way like you, Ultra. You know, find a nice piece of music that complements the vibe, you know, and that brings it more of it's less of a workout video, more it's just movement. Right. It's about movement. Big shout to my man Colin Daring up in Brooklyn, who's he's a magician with the kettlebell, and he's and I met him through Rich Medina. He's led me to look at fitness and movement in a different way. I had been boxing and done martial arts for so long. It was all predicated around fighting for me, and until recently. And then I just was like, there's a peaceful path that the warrior can take as well. Right. So Colin was very instrumental in and I needed it. I was hurt physically. I was hurt mentally from fighting all these years, fighting myself. Mm-hmm. So the kettlebell taught me how to like strengthen myself and challenge myself. I didn't really have to fight, and I'm stronger than ever now. You know, if I had to punch somebody now, it'd probably be worse than it was when I was in the boxing gym. But I don't want to do that anymore.
Right. Right.
You know, I don't want to, you know, but somebody asked me today, you still box? I was like, I still know how to, but I'm just not right now. But I like, you know, that's the ego shit. You know, dude always got to say some shit. I still know how to ball. Dude, you ain't balling 20 years. I'm still nice. I already told you at the top of this shit, I don't play basketball for nothing. So I can't even fucking hit the garbage can with a piece of paper. I miss all the time, but I could throw a punch. Yeah,
Djinji, you would talk about Rich Medina. He used to kick me out the record store back in Philly.
Oh yeah, that sounds like him.
He used to rub Bobbito's footwork, and we would just go and start looking at all the records, and then there was a young lady named Steph, and he was always saying we was in there looking at Steph, and he used to get out the store. You're not gonna buy no record.
We looking for the right record. He's like, come on, man.
Yeah, he'd be like, get out the store. Yeah.
I don't know. He might have had a point.
You know what?
Dope. All right. Well, Djinji, thanks for being here tonight. Really appreciate
thank
it.
you
Man.
so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I really looking forward to this. And you know I'm waiting on that video.
Ultra.
Yeah,
Of course.
No pressure. No pressure. I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I'm a fan.
I was listening today, getting some ideas. I was listening to the album today, and I'm like, there's a couple joints. Yeah. I can see it visually.
I trust you. I'm not even gonna ask you.
Just,
you never ask the artist. You just let the artist be the artist.
It's cooking. It's cooking.
I know that. And it's time. The shit took 29 years to come out, so who am I to put trust on you?
Right. What's another month?
Oh, Djinji, you're already getting followers on Instagram.
Well, that's dope. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. That's great. This is thank you all for having me, and I hope that hope it was fun. And
this has been
absolutely
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love the stories, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to tell them. I'm at that age where you want to tell them not because you want to relive your past, but you want to tell them so that you can get it out and so that other people can, you get to a certain stage in your life where, this is your history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's someone interested, rap, it comes from the griot. We're storytellers, right? There's the written history and then there's the unwritten history. There's the spoken word, right? And ironically, our memories are based on, not ironically, they're based on both. Sometimes you remember the shit you heard in another way than you remember the shit you read.
Oh yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
The shit you hear and you hear someone speak it, their tone of voice is going to resonate. Their sincerity, their authenticity going to come across in a way that maybe we need both. We need the written word and we need the spoken word. That's why rapping and MCing is just such a brilliant thing when it's done with the integrity of reaching the people in a way that's going to help them. I think.
Yeah.
But that's my own opinion on that.
Word up. All right.
Hey, real quick before we go, check this shit out. I gotta just show you this because All right, that's the test pressing that they reminisce over you.
Oh,
wow.
Here we go. And that Pete signed it for me.
Oh my God.
Djinji wins tonight.
Yeah, Djinji wins tonight.
It's not the test pressing, it's the promo. There's a difference. Yeah. But I gave Pete the test pressing to Buddha Blessed, and that's a fact.
Wow.
I drove that shit to Hot 97 when he had Future Flavors with Molly Marr, like a kid in the candy store. Like my first fucking Christmas. I drove that shit up there. I gave it to him. And I got back in my car and was driving through the village and Pete played it. And I was by myself. I didn't have anybody to share that moment with.
Yeah.
But I shared it with me in my car, and I screamed out the window as I was driving east on 8th Street. This my shit! This my shit! Yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
That's it.
Super dope.
Yeah, that's
super dope.
That's it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Djinji Brown.
Thanks again, y'all. Peace, love, and I wish you all, happy spring.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Keep
you.
us posted what you got going on, man.
I will. I'll follow
Always.
the pages and make sure we all stay linked. And Ultra, keep doing what you're doing, man. You really, days get mundane, days get this, days get that. But whenever I see one of your videos, it brings a smile to my face. And I know that all those followers you have feel the same way to the 10th power. So we love what you do. And
thank you.
It's important. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Man. All right, y'all. Checking out. I'll see you good people all soon.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
You got it.
Thank you.
Later. Bye-bye.
All right.
Peace.
Yeah. Sorry.
That was dope.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you guys for holding down the fort. I had a doggy emergency. So
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, Flatline has every record in the world ever made, so it doesn't matter.
I also have this tape.
Oh, you know what?
What's that? Oh.
What?
Oh, jeez.
What?
Where did that come from?
That's a Capitol Records promo when the Hurrah came out. And it's Hurricane, the Gravediggers, and I think it's just Black Thought. Malik might be there too, but they're freestyling over Rozelle beatboxing the entire time.
Ah, this guy.
You can hear snippets of it on Rozelle's Greatest Knockouts, that compilation that he put out. There's little snippets, but this is like, plus there's an interview on it. It's great. Anyway.
There you go, Dre Mays. And the winner is.
Well, the winner's Djinji Brown because he had the
right
the promo.
Yeah, nothing.
They reminisce signed by Pete Rock.
Yeah.
If anybody who didn't bring their Barbies to play tonight, yeah.
Yep. There you go. Hey, speaking of dope music, Flatline.
But yeah, we better run it down. Let's run it down.
Let's run down the list.
After the show ends, you could listen
to
the latest edition of Hip Hop Gods Radio.
Yes.
Which features such new selections as Blessed Picasso featuring Cool G Rap and Conway the Machine, new Above the Law single, new Razkaz featuring Numbskull, The Broken Record featuring Percy P, new Dinko D, new Thurston Howell III featuring Sean Price and General Steele, Switch and Stoop featuring Slain, all sorts of good stuff, plus some nice bonus tracks on there. And
the bonus
Poor Righteous Teachers blast it all off.
Nice.
For the love of this, which I love the New World Order album, but I somehow forgot about that track. It is a monster beast of a track.
I will have to go back and revisit because I have not.
Shit. I mean, it's so good. I'm not even going to do it justice, but oh my God.
You know why it's so good?
Jersey?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Of course.
No, I remember enjoying that album, but I haven't heard it in years.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Gonna have to revisit.
I would highly recommend it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the recommendation. So, yeah. All right. Dope. And you can also check out Flatline and myself along with Mr. Chuck D every Friday for the Angie Don't Stop radio show on Rap Station and Mixcloud. And Flatline's got the Hip Hop God segment. Mr. Chuck hosts the show. I play the Spit Slam Jam of the Week. Oh, yeah. I guess we should do our... I got ahead of myself because I guess we should shout out our sponsors. The It's C-Doc again is brought to you by
Hackensack Brewing with the beer Auga. If you're in the North Jersey area, check out Hackensack Brewing. Check out the beer that is inspired by the Awesome 2 and their 40-plus year run of hip-hop. Hackensack Brewing, Auga, Awesome 2.
There it is. And the show is also brought to you by the Spit Slam Record Label Group.
The Spit Slam Record Label Group, a Chuck D situation. Catch us on your favorite streaming platform, on Bandcamp, or visit our official web store at spitslamrecords.com. All releases are available digitally or on CD, with select titles available on vinyl and cassette. The Spit Slam Record Label Group. Throwback to the future sound.
Yes, indeed. And
we got to get some more beer.
we do. And I got to update that Spit Slam promo too. And so yes, I played the Spit Slam Jam of the Week, which is music released by the Spit Slam Record Label Group. So you check that out Friday nights. And then catch Ultramag and Jennifer O'Jenny along with our man in Amsterdam, DJ Soulbuck, who's not really in Amsterdam. And we're Sunday night right here on Channel Zero for the mixtape, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They play music from our upcoming guests for next week's show. And Jennifer, who do we have coming up next week?
Next week would happen to be none other than 3 different people who go by the name of Seriously Fine.
Seriously Fine. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, we will be talking to them next Tuesday. So yeah, looking forward to that. And yeah, there it is. Right? Okay.
There it is.
There it is.
Stay tuned to whatever Spit Slam stuff for whatever's coming out Friday night or Friday day.
Friday day. Yes. Right.
Which would be
Friday. Friday we have we have 2 new releases Friday.
Yeah.
Actually. Yep. So we have a new DJ M Rock maxi single. And when I say maxi, I mean seriously maxi. It's got like 12 remixes. And DJ M Rock featuring Conway the Machine and Benny the Butcher. He's getting all gutter with it. And for the song Pray to Jay Dilla. And then we are also releasing the CD in conjunction with unknownplanet.org of the Tech Specialists.
Oh,
Dr. Rachmaninoff and Ish Kabibble. Here
That's
they
right.
come.
Their album Future Shock finally being released.
Yep.
After 20
some years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25?
25 years, I think. Yeah. That's appropriate. Yeah. It's a good anniversary.
Yep.
So yeah, Friday. Check us out. SpitSlamRecords.com. Yeah. And I want to thank everybody watching live tonight, everybody watching on the replay, and of course my co-hosts Flatline, Ultramag7, and Jennifer O'Jenny. And we will see everybody next week for another episode of It's C-Doc Again.
I bit the dust. I bit the dust.
Lord.
I bit the dust, Flatline. I bit the dust.
What is happening?